Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. How's everybody doing? What's up? I know I'm doing fantastic. You know why I'm doing fantastic? I think the Giants beat the reigning Super Bowl champions this week on a Thursday night. Sorry. Let me just go back and say we didn't beat them. I think we actually destroyed them. We put up 34. They put up 17. Um, we ran down their throat. It wasn't even. It was abusive to some people. I'm sure it was just ridiculous. I
You
can't.
sound like
I
Stephen A.
lost.
Smith.
I got no. I'm not using. I don't have that many syllables in my words. It was a fantastic game. Quickly, before we jump into the episode, I have a little story to share you guys. On Friday, I was out with Steph, my future wife. Friday night, we were just running errands and this and that and all that fun stuff. And I was wearing a Giants hoodie, not because the Giants won, just because that was the only thing that I could find at the moment, and we had to rush out and run some errands. There's a guy at the store. He's like, "Hey, you must be happy, huh?" I'm like, "Why is that?" He's like, "Oh, the Giants won." I'm like, "You know what? I am happy." He's like, "Dude, I saw you walk in. You had a smile on your face from ear to ear." I'm like, "You're right. I did. I was, and I am. So thank you very much for noticing that."
And he still does 6 days later because that was their
100%.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, listen, you got to get the wins when they come. All right. Last time I checked, Jackson Dar's 2-1 as a starter. But listen, Mac, we'll get to the Steelers at some point this episode, I'm sure.
We sure will.
But before we get it, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. I'm sorry. Where have I been? My goodness. Bush League Fantasy Football Podcast. We're here. Let's go. Week 7. Week 7 already. And oh man, we got a great episode for you guys. We're very excited to get this train rolling right now. But before we begin, we ask you to please follow us on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter for all of your weekly fantasy breakdowns all season. We've been doing this for 7 weeks. We'll do this for another 15 weeks if we have to. Send us all of your waiver questions. Send us all of your sit start questions. Send us all of your questions about who should I put in my lineup? Is this a good guy to start? What about him? What's the injury situation? Send us your trade questions because trade deadline's right around the corner. We're coming up right now.
I completely forgot about that.
100%. I didn't. That's why I do the intro. So,
There
ladies
you
and
go.
gentlemen, send us all of your questions, all of your inquiries. Follow us on all of your social medias. Like, share, send it out to your friends who don't know what podcasts to get rolling with. Send them over here. We got space for everybody. And we're very happy to bring you all into the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast family. That is us. I am Fabio. 3 minutes in, I forgot to say my name. I'm Fabio, joined by Roger, joined by Knack. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to get this episode rolling right now. We're going to start off with the usual episode, which is the opening drive. Roger, take it away from here.
Thank you, Fabio. All right, the opening drive, week 7 target and rush share report. So we're going to look at some committee backfields, wide receiver rooms that are in flux. First and foremost, we're going to start with Mr. Rico Dowdle. 66 PPR points over his last 2 games. That is not a typo. Chuba Hubbard opened the year strong, but Dowdle's taken over with over 80% snap and rush share over the past 2 weeks. Friend of the program, Matt Harmon, charted that half his carries go for 5+ yards or more, and 1/3 either go for first downs or are for a touchdown. Even the Panthers' pass volume has dropped from 11th to 20th over the past 3 weeks, showing that they're leaning on the run. Dowdle, in my opinion, I think ours as well, is a must hold and must start even when Hubbard returns. Coach Dave Canales called it a we'll see situation when he was asked today if Hubbard will have his job back. So Dowdle is ride the hot hand with Dowdle. Next up, we have the Tampa Bay wide receiver room with Emeka Egbuka out. The Bucks turned into target share roulette table last week against the 49ers. Cade Otten, 33% target share. Cameron Johnson, 27% target share. Favorite of mine from Oregon, Tez Johnson, 20% target share, and Rachaad White, 13%. Finally, Sterling Shepard, Baker's old college teammate, 7%. I think Shepard quietly becomes the guy there. He ranks 2nd in routes, catches, yards, and 4th in target share on the team. He's not going to be a priority add in waivers necessarily unless you're a Egbuka owner. But I think during the bye weeks, Baker and Shepard have good chemistry to maybe rekindle that magic again. So he should be a sneaky flex play. Next, we have Mr. Kendrick Bourne, the Bourne identity for the 49ers. Back-to-back 142-yard games on 20 targets, 11 targets and 9 targets over the past 2 games. Jennings is absolutely banged up. He had to tell us, he had to tell the media that he had 5 broken ribs and a broken ankle. Pearsall is always banged up as well, and Ayuk is still not close to coming back. Bourne's earned real trust from this offense. I think the question is whether is he playable even after Jennings and Pearsall are back, and also is he more tethered to Mac Jones, or can he produce this production when Brock Purdy is back, which should be very soon? I think he's startable until further notice, but I would temper my expectations. He might be a sell high candidate. And finally, we have the Seahawks backfield, Kenneth Walker and Zach Charbonnet, usage, split, or load management. So the tail of the tape between the two last week, Charbonnet played 61% of the snaps, 12 carries, 13 routes, while Walker saw just 33% of the carries, of the snaps, 10 carries, and 8 routes. Both finished with 4.7 fantasy points. So far in 2025, Charbonnet is bottom 5 in explosiveness. That's like us basically being running backs. Whereas Walker, even despite those stats, is top 2 in explosiveness. So what gives? So according to their beat writer, Seahawks beat writer Greg Bell, Walker is still managing the preseason foot issue that he's had. He's had foot issues over the past 2 years. We know he's a little bit injury prone. And if you look at the deeper metrics with regards to Seattle's offense when Walker is on, they are better on yards per play. They're better than expected points as well. They're also better in success rate when Walker is in versus Charbonnet. I think the thing here is they both play in the most amount of 8-man fronts in the league, and I think they're using Charbonnet as kind of the battering ram to keep Walker for staying fresh. Hold tight for Walker through the week 8 bye. I think this is going to be a committee shift, and they're load managing Walker so that when he's healthy after the bye, I think they're gonna let him explode. That's all for the opening drive this week. A few backfields, a few headaches, and some clarity for your lineups. Knack, take us home with week 7 love, hate, please.
Thank you, Roger. That was awesome. As always, the opening drive. So that takes us to our love, hate for week 6, or week 7, should I say. Teams on bye in week 7 are the Ravens and Bills. So a few fantasy repercussions there. Record this week was a healthy 8-6-1, which brings our total record to 43-41-2. So Fab, you led the way at 3-1-run. You had a love for Rico Dowdle, which panned out. Love with J.K. Dobbins, which unfortunately did not. Also hates for Travis Etienne and Derrick Henry, and we gave you a little push here for Dalton Kincaid, who did not start the game.
He didn't play.
Or obviously was inactive. Rod, you went 2-3, missing out on your loves of Cam Ward and Spencer Rattler, who had interesting days to say the least. You did hit on your Evan Ingram love at the tight end position. We'll give you a push/loss here for Kyler Murray, Jacoby Brissett on the hate. He actually did pretty well in Kyler Murray's place, but you also did hit on Dylan Gabriel hate. I missed out, actually. I was 3-2, missed out on Stephon Diggs. That was a really surprising one for me on the weekend. I think he didn't even get to 5 fantasy points after putting on back-to-back solid performances. Finally, Brian Thomas came to life this week, so hit on that love. Also hit on the hates for Calvin Ridley and DJ Moore, and missed out on the Juwan Johnson love. That one was also a one that I kind of weird, but did not get targeted a lot in that game.
Taysom Hill back.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Taysom Hill. Well,
Gotta love it.
He steals a lot of that red zone. When they're inside the 5, it's like Kamara, Keandre Miller, forget it. It's not going to happen. It's going to be Taysom Hill's show. So definitely a little bit of frustrations coming out of in fantasy land for New Orleans. So without further ado, I'll get things started with the quarterbacks this week. So the first quarterback I love this week is going to be Mr. Aaron Rodgers, QB19 at the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. So Rodgers has been the definition of steady, not flashy, but reliable. That said, Week 7 brings a very enticing matchup against the Bengals defense that's been a gift to opposing quarterbacks. They've allowed every QB to score at least 15 fantasy points this season, and over the last 3 weeks alone, Bo Nix, 29 points, Jared Goff, 23 points. Both went over 20, and even Jordan Love managed to get 17, and they really ran the ball a lot. I think Josh Jacobs had 2 TDs in that game. The Jets offense finally seems the Steelers offense finally seems to be finding its rhythm, and Rodgers is coming off his best fantasy outing of the year against a tough Browns defense. So this feels like the week he breaks through. So I consider Rodgers a high end start in 2QB and Superflex formats.
Yeah, he's going QB 19
QB
before 19. After a lot of guys who I would definitely start over Rodgers. Like I would start him over even Justin Fields, over even Bo Nix hasn't been that impressive. So I think it's a good start.
This is
defense.
This is the Senior Citizens Bowl. Is that what this is this week?
Yep.
On Thursday?
Combined age of 81 years old for both starting quarterbacks on Thursday Night Football. So that should be definitely be interesting. The Unk Bowl, as they call it. Yes. My second love for this week is going to be Mr. Sam Darnold, QB 17 versus the Texans. 17? Like the disrespect is really real when it comes to Sam Darnold. So 6 weeks in, Darnold continues to ball out and has completely unleashed JSN. The two are forming one of the league's most electric duos, if not the best duo in the league right now. And sure, Houston's defense looks good on paper, allowing the fewest fantasy points to QB so far. But if we look a little closer, the last 3 quarterbacks they faced were Cooper Rush, Cam Ward, and Trevor Lawrence. So not exactly murderer's row there. Expect some course correction here. Darnold is in command of this offense, and until he gives you a reason not to, keep starting him with absolute confidence. I think we all agree on this one.
Yep.
So that'll do it for my loves. My hate this week the first one will be Tua Tagovailoa. I believe he was in our love segment 3 or 4 weeks ago, but he is QB 25 at the Browns. So it's been a true roller coaster season for Tua, to say the least. After a few encouraging weeks, he crashed back to earth in week 6. Just 205 yards, 1 TD, 3 INTs for a 10-point fantasy dud. Then came his post-game comments calling out the team leadership while dodging accountability for his own struggles. So not the best look for your franchise QB. And now he heads into Cleveland to face a ferocious Browns defense on the road behind an O-line that might let Myles Garrett make his presence felt. Literally, this is the week to not roll the dice, bench Tua wherever possible. And I don't know, maybe his O-line lets them sneak through for a few clean hits from Myles Garrett.
Is it too kind of gory to say I fear for Tua's life this weekend?
No, it's not.
No, it's definitely.
I think it's legitimate concern.
You guys remember that? Was it week 1 or basically when Myles Garrett, like, he was coming through a pass rush, and I think one of the QBs like, holy crap, like he's coming through, like
that was
against the Bengals.
No, it was.
I feel like it was maybe Joe Burrow
against Arizona.
Either way, it doesn't.
It was someone, but it was someone. Yeah, he was like, holy crap! Yeah, exactly.
Like,
because it was
holy SIHSHIT, and like I could just see that happening to Tua, and Tua's been sacked quite a bit like this year too, and they haven't really done a good job protecting him, and he's been very turnover prone, which is kind of like the reason why Tua exists, is to protect the ball.
And finally, my last hate of the week is going to be a double whammy. It's Brock Purdy, QB 22, or Mac Jones, QB 24, on Sunday Night Football. So it's still unclear who will get the start, but honestly, I don't think it matters much for fantasy purposes. The Falcons' defense has been lights out, allowing 0 quarterbacks to throw for 200 yards all season. And even Josh Allen got completely shut down under the Monday Night Lights, which was incredible to see from that defense. Now, whichever QB suits up will face some of that suffocating defense Sunday night, and likely at less than 100%. So whoever starts is not going to be truly healthy. And the Falcons' pass rush has been stellar. And this feels like another long night ahead for an opposing QB facing Atlanta. So I would avoid this situation altogether.
Yeah. Haven't seen Atlanta defense look this good.
Yeah,
Yep.
you got to give props.
Since John Abraham.
Yeah, you really got to
Yeah,
give
well, they
props. What
finally
they did to
it
Buffalo
was the year
last night.
they drafted all on defense too this
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, they finally
So,
spent some serious draft capital where they really needed to.
Yeah. So that'll do it for the QBs. Raj, why don't you give us some QBs you love some running backs you love and hate this week?
Sure can. So first running back I love is Rhamondre Stevenson, running back
Ooh.
28 for the Tennessee Titans.
Ooh.
The Titans are allowing the fourth most fantasy points to running backs and the most TDs in the league. They just fired their head coach, Brian Callahan, who was way over his head. And they have a red hot Pats offense coming into town. The Pats backfield has been a committee. It still leans towards Stevenson. And according to Ryan Heath of Fantasy Sports Data, we love his Monday tweets. Over the last 7 quarters, Stevenson has a 56% carry share, and he's 5 of 5 inside the 10-yard line. Henderson has not seen any carries inside the 10. Add to that fact, the Titans are 4th in the league in red zone attempts allowed per game with 4 per game. So I see Stevenson looking into a few touchdowns and maybe a 12 for 60 line. Nothing special, nothing amazing, but I just think that the Titans are an absolute dumpster fire right now.
I still think it's crazy that they still are not choosing to use Henderson, which is mind-boggling to me. But
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. Because anyways,
It doesn't make any sense to me either, but I feel we've seen this from Vrabel in the past.
well, you think it's even the OC that's making the calls on this? It's not even Vrabel?
For sure, but I recall with Vrabel and maybe it was Tajay Spears or Vrabel, like even when Derrick Henry was coming up, I feel like this was like he'd always lean more towards the veteran back. Second running back I love is Woody Marks, running back 34 at Seattle. I'm calling this a Woody Marks game for one simple reason. The Seahawks allow the most targets, 51, and the most receptions, 43, to running backs this year. Conversely, they've allowed the second fewest rushing yards to running backs this year. So they allowed Jalen Warren in terms of pass catching to go 4 for 86. This is all pass catching. So Trey Benson, 5 passes a few weeks ago, and even Travis Etienne went 4 for 28. I think reports of Marks' demise were greatly exaggerated. He's had 50% snap share from weeks 4 and 5, and it was normal it dipped below 40% last week as the Texans were slaughtering the Ravens. I think it'll be a much closer game versus the Seahawks on Monday Night Football at Lumen Field, 10 p.m. game. I really can't wait for this game, actually. I think it's going to be a doozy.
I don't know if I'll be up for the whole game, that's for sure.
I don't understand how they have a 10 p.m. game on a Monday, and it's Seattle versus.
Because Seattle's at 7 p.m.
Yeah,
Seattle's in the West Coast.
West Coast.
It's just.
I prefer these types of Monday night games than the 7:15, 8:15.
Yeah, because you can at least watch both.
For sure,
because
you can watch both. I agree. It's just 10 o'clock Eastern time start. It's like watching a hockey game out on the West Coast, which we've all done before.
Out of the West Coast.
quick honor mention. I won't go deep into it. I think Kamani Vidal is a must start. Love his matchup this week.
Do you love the cut of his jib for the rest of the season?
I do like the cut of it. No, but literally, I think the Hassan Haskins stuff was very, very good smokescreen by whoever the Chargers is there, and he looked really good. So Indianapolis defense, very good.
I think they said that it was the similar situation to what happened with the Cardinals.
Yeah,
like DeMarcado, because they were both not on the roster, but DeMarcado and Haskins are more of the pass catching, change of pace back, and they obviously didn't need two just running backs, right? So that's why Vidal kind of went in, and that's why Michael Carter took it. But
Arizona did that twice in 2 weeks.
Also,
last week too was Bam Knight and not Michael Carter like everyone expected it to be.
Also, I feel like a lot of the more talented guys, they play on special teams, and then they need that injury to get bumped up, and then they kind of show kind of their mettle in practice.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Speaking of running backs I hate, and speaking of the Cardinals, Bam Knight at Arizona. Bam Knight at Zonovan Knight at Packers versus the Packers. Excuse me. I do not like Bam Knight versus the Packers. So the Packers are allowing the second fewest fantasy points to running backs and the fewest rushing attempts to backs in the league. They've held down Chase Brown, Bill Merritt, and Gibbs and Montgomery in check. They did struggle a little bit versus Quinshon Judkins and Javonte Williams, but the Cardinals have the worst rushing success rate in the league, which basically means they're not picking up positive yardage consistently. Most of their runs are getting either stuffed or behind the chains. That's fine if you want to look in for a TV, but otherwise, there's way better options aside from Bam Knight this week. And you might as well add Michael Carter as well or Amari DiMarcado. And then more spicier one for you all. I also hate Breece Hall, running back 15 versus the Panthers this week. So the Panthers have a very legit run defense. They held the scorching hot Javonte Williams to 2.2 yards per carry on 29 yards. They held Devon Achane to 1.6 yards per carry on 16 yards. They've been spearheaded by the return of interior lineman Derek Brown, who I think is very close to potentially being an all-pro this year. Remember, this was the same defense that was historically bad in 2024, allowing the third most rushing yards allowed in NFL history. Breece Hall has feasted against bad defenses like the Dolphins and Cowboys, but he's looked small against Tampa and Denver. I don't think it's an outright sit, obviously, but expect him to struggle against the Panthers.
I like it.
Yeah, I like this call, actually.
Thank you, Raj, for the running back love and hates for week 7. And without further ado, Mr. Fabio, what do you got on the wide receiver front?
Oh, I got some fun stuff, boys. I hope you're ready for this one. So my first love of the week is actually, Roger, you mentioned him already. He's your boy. He's your boy out of Oregon, Tez Johnson.
Yes.
Ooh.
Tez Johnson versus Detroit. So Tampa Bay don't have Mike Evans. They don't have Boutte. They don't have Chris Godwin. Also don't have Bucky Irving, might as well. So they're all out this week. So that leaves the Bucs wide receiver corps very barren. But they have future MVP Baker Mayfield throwing them the ball. And if there's one thing we know about Baker and his time at Tampa Bay, he's wide receiver proof because he's been through every single possible wide receiver injury in the short time he's already been in Tampa Bay. And he turns those wide receivers into fantasy gold. So, and add to the fact that they're facing Detroit, who give up the 6th most fantasy points to wide receivers. So 10 passing TDs already on the year. This has the makings of a shootout in Motor City. Reasons why I like Tez over Cameron Johnson and Shepard is the deep ball, and his route participation has increased every week from 14% in week 1 to 84% in week 6, with an average depth of target of 15.2. So he was already involved in the offense since week 1, albeit at a much smaller amount because of the other guys in front of him. So he's currently wide receiver 51. I think he's actually flexible this week. And if you're desperate at wide receiver injuries and buys, I think you can actually put him in your lineup and you'll get some decent production out of him. I really do. I really think that he's in a very good spot to produce very good fantasy returns.
I like that one.
Next one, we have Kayshon Boutte at Tennessee.
Booty.
Kayshon Boutte. Boutte. I spoke to him. He prefers it this way. So good matchup versus Tennessee. Check. Talented quarterback throwing in the ball. Check. Getting hot at the right time. Also check. It's been up and down for Boutte this year, but rising tide raises all ships. And I think that's what we're seeing right now in New England. They cannot trust their run game. I know, Roger, you have Rhamondre Stevenson as a love, so I apologize for that. And Drake May is erasing all doubts about a sophomore slump. Boutte seems to have finally implanted himself in the offense, and his route participation for this season has been a reliable 74%. He also leads the team with 33% end zone target share. Right now, he's wide receiver 50. Is another very serviceable flex play in a very good matchup. I like this a lot. And these are also two guys that are probably on your waiver wire. And these are two guys that if you have an option to pick them up, you should. And this episode, by the time it comes out,
they might still be on the waiver wire.
Yeah, they might still be on the waiver wire. Yeah.
Just back to Tez. You know what's interesting is he ran a 4.5, almost 4.6 40, and he dropped down considerably in the draft because he must be slow, but like his play speed, he looks really fast.
He was
he
very
looks
fast.
really fast. And just the last thing is, what a wide receiver factory do the Bucs have? Like,
Dude,
yes,
man.
you have to give Baker a ton of credit.
100%.
But like the GM drafting, they just churn out wide receiver after wide receiver after wide receiver. It's an absolute factory. It's really impressive.
That's a very good point. And you look at all the wide receivers that they've lost due to injury. and
Next
they're
man
all
up.
brand names, and they don't skip a beat
No.
because the guys that they have, like it's next man up for them, but it's next man, like it's really next man up because they're just ready to rock and roll over there. It's really impressive. But honestly, Baker Mayfield though, we all know how I feel about him. I don't gotta say it. He's one
I
of the
wish I
good
put
ones.
MVP money on him, man.
Mahomes has entered that conversation.
Yeah, Mahomes has entered that conversation, and rightfully so. He's
But you love
turning
you
out a
some
lot.
Baker. You love you
Yeah,
some
we love.
Baker.
Yeah, but you got to give props for Mahomes. Like I think the last few years we've been poo-pooing him a little bit too much. Well, not too much,
The
but
fantasy community
enough.
has.
Yeah, the fantasy community has. This year he's getting it done with. Like he's the leading rusher on the team.
He's also QB1 on the season. I was the big advocate of Mahomes' comeback season.
Yeah, no,
Were you?
I was.
I wasn't paying attention to that part.
I'm the one who keeps the receipts, right? So we can go back a few episodes if you'd like, but I was one of the advocates to say
Mac, I'll take your
Mahomes.
word for it. Anyways, moving on to the hates for the wide receivers. My first hate for the week is DeVonta Smith Pelly. I'm sorry, DeVonta Smith. DeVonta Smith at Minnesota. So many are coming off a bye, and Philly look like they're in desperate need for one. Hurts doesn't seem to be on the same page with his wide receivers at all. Even last week versus the Giants, he missed Smith on a wide open would-be 60-yard touchdown. Smith has also missed his projection in 4 of the 6 games so far this season. The only 2 where he outperformed them were the ones who was targeted more than 9 times. So he's going to need some volume, and I don't think it'll happen this week versus the top-ranked pass defense in Minnesota. Minnesota have surrendered the least amount of fantasy points to wide receivers. DeVonta Smith is currently ranked as wide receiver 25, but he's more of a flex play for me and maybe even outside the top 40. Just going to roll out some quick numbers. 74, 51, 9, 70, 10, 37. Those are not the winning Powerball combinations. Those are Smith's weekly PPR finishes this season. For a guy that you drafted as your wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, it's really tough sledding so far.
He's such a talented player. I'm
He's
out on
such
him.
a talented
I'm out
player,
on
man.
him next year because it's just the ride is. And you know what, Fab? I agree with your call. I guarantee you're gonna lose this one because when people sit Smith, that's when he pops off.
That's when he.
And when people start him, he's like it's so hard to predict with him. Like against Denver, 8 for 114.
Yeah, but that's also because PS2 was all over AJ Brown.
But not really. But then we know that PS2 kind of doesn't necessarily follow one guy. Like he shadows like certain part of the field. But again, I agree with you. It's so hard to own.
But I also don't think it's necessarily a product of DeVonta Smith. I think it's also a product of the offense in Philly right now was really out of sync. And
yes,
you've been seeing that lately too. Like
totally.
It's just been weird.
Yeah,
and obviously you add to the fact that Minnesota is off their bye. They're a little bit more healthy. And they have a very good defense like they always do. I think it's going to be tough sledding. And it's also, this could be a Wentz revenge game. Who knows? Probably not, though. I've been hearing that JJ McCarthy is practicing. Moving on to my final hate of the episode. It's your boy, Knack. It's Wan'Dale Robinson. Wan'Dale Robinson at Denver. He's seen a big uptick in targets and target share in the last few weeks with Neighbors out for the season. When Neighbors out for the season and Slayton dealing with a quad injury. However, the $26 million man is expected to be back, and Robinson might get the PS2 treatment this week as well. Denver gave the second least amount of points to wide receivers. This feels like a low-scoring game, just like we've seen Denver versus the Jets last week. I think it's going to be won or lost on the ground. Currently ranked as wide receiver 24, I consider benching him for more attractive options even after his great performance last week versus Philly.
Yeah, I think I'm starting Josh Downs over Wan'Dale this week. It's going to be too tough to play.
Yeah, I like that call, actually. I think Pittman is injured.
No, I don't think so.
No? So it's I heard that some of the wide receivers in your are not 100%, but no, I do like that call all the same.
Awesome. Thank you for the wide receivers, Fab. And as always, we will end with our tight ends. Raj, what about you? What do you have at tight end this week? Love or hate?
Love for me, Cade Otten, tight end 12 at Detroit. He's a perfect streaming option at tight end in week 7. Obviously, we talked about it already. The Bucs wide receiver core is banged up with Evans, Godwin, Ibuka, all likely out this week. And the Bucs working in their 4th and 5th string wide receivers. Otten saw a 30% target share as soon as Boutte was out and has had games of 81 and 51 yards back to back. He's the tight end 12, as mentioned, according to Fantasy Pros. That puts him at borderline tight end 1 against the Lions, who allowed Kelce to go for 6 for 78 last week. I think he's a great start in week 7.
We saw what he did last year when Godwin was out and Evans was banged up, and he was 10-1 like every other week. He's
a benefactor of injuries. He is 100%. Not. He is absent when everyone's there, but
well, he doesn't need to factor in when everyone is there, but when everyone isn't there, which for the Bucs happens more often than not.
When everyone there is even the 6th read on a
crazy.
Yeah,
exactly. Man.
Yeah, it's wild.
Yeah, it's great.
Fab, what about you? Love or hate on the tight end?
I gotta hate. I gotta hate on Travis Kelce versus the Oakland Raiders. So Kelce has actually been pretty good this year. He's tight end 5 on the season, and normally I wouldn't be betting against Taylor Swift's husband, but this has Rashee Rice written all over it. Whatever, husband, fiance, significant other. Add to the fact that Las Vegas give up the 8th least amount of fantasy points to tight ends, and the fact that they've only surrendered 2 touchdowns to tight ends all year. None of their opposing tight ends have had more than 66 receiving yards or 6 receptions. I think it's tough sledding for Kelce in this matchup. I think he takes a big backseat to the Rice and Mahomes show. He's ranked as tight end 9, and I have him finishing outside of that this week.
I think everyone is really high on Rice. Like, he's got to come in and find some kind of meshing with Mahomes, right? Like, I don't know if he comes out guns blazing week 1.
I think they're going to try to get him involved often. I think
for sure, but I don't know, man. He's gonna have to be in sync a little bit with him, I feel.
Also, you're afraid of the Raiders?
Yeah, I don't think anyone's afraid of the Raiders.
But they've been pretty good against tight ends.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, is this not tight end love hate? No, I got confused.
No, it is. It's just, I don't know. The Raiders has just been
am
so
I afraid of the Raiders? No, I'm not. But it's something to take under consideration if you have more attractive options like Cade Otten.
Or my love for this week. So if you're looking for
nice segue.
If you're looking for a sneaky streamer this week, I've got Higbee. Tyler Higbee, tight end 29 right now, ladies and gentlemen. So he's buried deep in that waiver.
He's one catch to beat the projection. This isn't fair.
But he might be your guy. So with Puka's sideline, his usage jumped, and he actually led the Rams in receiving last week, albeit it was just 40 yards, and he scored a touchdown for 14 fantasy points. So the Rams head overseas to London for week 7, and with Puka likely out until after the bye, Higbee should stay heavily involved, and weird things tend to happen across the pond. So I definitely like Higbee to once again find the end zone, and I think he's a solid tight end streamer this week.
6.15 projected points.
Yeah, so he needs 3 catches. Great call, Knack. Great call. Tight end 57.
We're allowed to do this. We could pick.
We can go all the way.
Running back 100.
Hold on a second.
You guys want me? You guys, I will put it all the way up to 9. How about that? I'll play it at 9.
Okay, a little gambling.
Oh wow!
Right.
So you want a board bet? You want a board bet to see who finishes higher? Mind you, I have a hate on Travis Kelce. So it doesn't really count.
I don't know.
Okay, fine. About. Tyler Higbee, tight end 29, right after baby. Tommy Tremble and right before Noah Fant. So clearly, in very rare company. Actually, no. Jokes aside, though, I do like this call because I think
here he goes.
No, I think he's going to get a lot more volume. That's for sure. Definitely. Nak is doing tight end arbitrage over here, finding guys all the way at the end. I love it.
I think he's a very sneaky good play.
I think he is. We'll see next week. He's definitely very sneaky because everyone forgot about him. That's for sure.
Yeah, because Puka Nacua gets 75 targets a game.
I know we spoke about this before, but honorable mention Rhamondre Gadsden actually for the Chargers too. I think it's a very nice play this week. But you guys already had 2 loves. I I didn't want to put another Love on there, so
Good call. Good call.
I had to sneak that in. He's only tied in 26, so a little bit more relevant in 2025.
That'll do it for our love hate for week 7. Thank you everyone for joining us once again. Follow us everywhere on all the social medias, X, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. We will be back next week and can't wait to tell you about our Tyler Higbee performance.
Oh my God.
Cue the music, Raj.
We're going to talk about Tyler Higbee and Aaron Rodgers next week as we open up. Jeez.
And Rodgers the GOAT.
Aaron Rodgers,
Oh my-
DK Metcalf.
Aaron Rodgers.
Nope.
I'm
Second
gonna
more in a row,
hear about it
Roger.
again
Guys,
about how I
four-
doubted DK Metcalf.
Guys,
Four
Kenneth
TDs
Gainwell is an
in
RB1.
Straight games. 4 TDs in 4 straight games. Come at me, bro.
Who has 4 TDs in 4 straight games?
Metcalf.
Oh my God. All right.
Even
Have a
you
good
agreed
night.
with me that
bro.
it didn't seem like it was going to be a good fit. Goodbye. Oh.
Goodbye. Aren't they looking for another wide receiver, actually? Didn't I heard some rumors that need another wide receiver? Tells you everything you need to know.
Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.